They call it a caliphate.
By the so-called ISIS Caliphate.
ISIS is a caliphate.
The Islamic State with the new caliphate.
But why are they impoverished and uneducated? It's mostly because of the religion.
The idea of caliphate, I guess it sells a lot of news in the Western media by scaring people and making them lose sleep at night, dreaming about some bearded and turbaned people probably look like me, going house to house, making sure that, your wine bottles are broken and that there's no pork in your house.
Good evening, Ahmed.
Good evening, infidel.
So you're a terrorist?
Yes, I am a terrorist.
What kind of terrorist?
A terrifying terrorist.
Now, more and more, the idea of what the caliphate is starting to become more prevalent, simply because of the phenomena of what we call ISIS or Daesh. The way that they formulate in their caliphate is one which is of, you can just see a bit like Dutch cheese, just full of holes.
The claim was largely a set of theatrics.
I don't think you could just call yourself a caliphate and you become one. Turkey calling itself the United States of America, it can do that if it wants to. I mean, that's not a problem, but it doesn't make it the United States of America.
Caliphate is stewardship. It is taking care of God's creation. It is making sure that the markets are open, that people can walk the streets in safety, that the poor and those who are unable to earn for themselves, that they have something to eat.
So the caliphate really is a metaphor for a state which is a Muslim great power, which is able to not necessarily have all the Muslim population, but exercise some kind of protection and leadership, and more importantly, a kind of a representation of the Muslim Ummah on a political plane.
Ideally, it's not for the Trump administration, the United States of America or ISIS to determine or decide what a caliphate is.
What we have to understand is how Muslims, ordinary men and women, use and understand what the caliphate means to them. And for them, the caliphate is simply a metaphor for having a stake in the world in which they see Muslims being lacking the capacity to govern their own lives. The ISIS was basically a warlord organization, and where these organizations emerge where states have collapsed. So if you go to the borderlands of the United States and Mexican border, where you have narco gangs carrying out this kind of violence, living like this.
The fact that the majority of the Muslim community, and let's not take the Muslim community as being ignorant here, it's 1.5 billion strong, it's very pluralistic, at least in principle agrees with an idea of that the caliphate has some sort of Islamic tradition, but then outrightly rejected what ISIS was. One of the important ideas in the Muslim tradition is the concept of consensus and consultation, and there isn't a consensus here.
The scholars of Islam, at least the scholars of the Sunni tradition, they enumerate a number of conditions for the legitimacy of someone's claim to the sovereignty over the political affairs of the Muslims. The most egregious infraction of which was basically to title anyone who didn't agree with their political views as a non-Muslim, after which the most egregious breach of the sacred law was wanton killing without any justification.
And here the Ottoman state is important because it's the last caliphate that we actually know. In the Ottoman context, and from what I saw in my research, it was built on the idea of taqwa, which is to be God conscious, deen, which is the idea of Islam itself, to have a form of accountability within the governmental structure, to have an institution in which consultation can take place, and the bedrock is justice. Now that's the philosophy of what the caliphate was.
Anybody who looks through the pictorial archives of the Ottoman Empire will know that it was a multi-religious, multi-ethnic, multilinguistic state. The majority population of the empire was actually that of Christians and Jews, in prosperity and in harmony with with the Muslims, with their rights protected and their religious traditions protected, which is something even the European Union is unable to guarantee to its citizens, what with bans on face veils and bans on Muslim girls wearing hijab.
Many of the understandings of Islam and Muslims and Muslim hopes and aspirations are constantly being undermined by Orientalist imaginary and Islamophobic intentions. So, for example, for them, the Caliphate represents a threat to their domination, to world peace. They present it as a totalitarian system.
Sorry to disappoint the Western media, but you can go back to sleep at night. You don't have to fear that some Islamic caliphate will turn into a totalitarian nightmare. Rather, the concept is something that Muslims live day to day in their lives.
Perhaps a fifth of the world's population identifies itself as being Muslim, but feels that there is no political structure which allows, at the international level, which is meaningful, which gives voice to their interest and their hopes and aspirations.